Hi, my name is Denise Dowell and I teach kindergarten at David Reese Elementary.
Hello, my name is Linda Dyer and I teach first grade at David Reese.
I'm Noni Stevens and I teach second grade at David Reese Elementary.
I'm Keith Thompson and I teach third grade.
My name is Deborah Ballard and I teach third grade.
My name is Teresa Chung and I teach fourth grade.
Hi, I'm Kyle Sweat. I teach fourth grade.
Hi, my name is Heather Robertson. I teach 5th grade.
Hi, my name is Janelle Robinson and I am a 6th grade teacher here at David Reese Elementary.
The best thing about the instructional rounds was the fact that we got to have feedback. Here at David Reese, we haven't had much feedback in many years. And I think the feedback in general was very positive. I felt validated as a teacher. It was good to know what other teachers teach. I think that I learned a lot from what I read on the feedback from the whole school. And I really appreciated some of the things that I read and was able to incorporate those things into my own teaching. I know that all the teachers here at David Reese want to be better teachers. We're always looking for materials and ways of teaching that will engage our students.
Instructional Rounds has allowed for me to reflect more on my teaching and think more about, teach more in a student-centered way versus, think about what I'm doing as a teacher and then how students respond to that. I now sort of flip that concept and now I reflect more on what I'm assigning my students and how I, as a teacher, respond to their needs.
I started to really self-reflect about what it was that I was asking my students to do. We were asked to collect evidence of the tasks students were asked to do in the class and at what levels we thought those tasks were. And that really helped me take it back into the classroom with my class. And it made me look at tasks that I would ask my students to do and critically say, wait a minute, what level that's not a high enough level. Those are low level questions and it's not enough for my students. How can I change it to challenge them even further, to move them along on the spectrum?
As we got into it a little bit more throughout the year, I started to reflect on my own teaching and I started to talk more with my colleagues, and it gave me a means by which to evaluate what I was doing and how effective it was.
One of the new concepts that I took from Instructional Rounds was that it's important to step out of your comfort zone and to let go of some of the knowledge that you think you have and to just listen and work on creating new knowledge. It's a chance to look at your classroom, at your school, at your teammates with fresh eyes. It's the opportunity to see how you can improve and to see what you're actually doing differently and to see where your children are, to see how your children are participating, to see their level of engagement, to see what they are taking away from the educational experience that you think you're providing for them. And in order to do that, it's important to sometimes step back and observe.
Okay, so one of the things that I thought was very cool when we did instructional rounds here at David Reese is that the very next day a lot of teachers were talking about what they were going to do as far as getting deeper within the levels of Bloom's taxonomy. And the next day I was working on whatever happened to the Baxter place in Unit 6 of our third grade reading. And I was thinking about how can I get deeper with that particular story, and I decided to take the farm that's, in the story the farm is basically being sold off, and I had students draw a picture of a farm, and then they had to take a shape and then trace the shape on top, right on top of their farm, and then color that part of the farm black as though it was sold off and they no longer had it, and then they had to talk about and write about and share what that meant for the farm. What would be different about the farm? How would they move across that area if they couldn't actually if they had to transport apples from one side of the farm to the other, and that part that they sold off was in the way, what would happen? Just lots of discussion about that, and it was very fun. The kids enjoyed it, and it definitely got to some of the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So the very next day, it certainly improved my classroom, and it sounded from the talk that I heard around campus that it improved other people's classrooms immediately as well. Teachers work with one another to do the work that they're doing. So we discuss with one another what we're working on, and then hopefully it goes back to grade levels to work on even more specifically.
We're going to get better at being team mentors for each other. Some of us are already team teaching in SOAR time, and we're finding it a really good time to catch each other on what we're doing that is affecting what the children are doing. We all have a tendency to want to spoon feed things to the children because we're afraid that maybe they don't understand it. And we're in a rush, we've got to get to the next lesson. Well, by doing the rounds, we're seeing that we do need to take that time. We've got to let them practice over and over and over again and tweak it. That's the way we learn, that's the way they learn. I think that's one of the most valuable things I've seen in this. So I'm looking forward to it being a fabulous thing for the students and a really good team building.
So I think that the educational rounds was very useful for the teachers and the students. It helped the teachers talk with each other and find out what each other's doing.
I also think that it has allowed, at least for our grade level, I know our grade level has been able to be more connected and collaborative and focused as to what we want our goals to be.
What's different this time is we are looking more at the students. We're not looking at judging our fellow teachers. We want to see what the students are doing when we ask them to do a task. And it's been kind of difficult because we're so used to being focused on each other, but we've had some success. We're learning now to look at actually what the students do and focus exactly on that. And we've learned a lot because what we're seeing is that what we think we've assigned to students is not always what they do.
No matter how much you talk about it being non-judgmental, it still feels judgmental because people are watching what you do. So, and the reality is that you do make judgments, whether they're noticed or not. Everybody does make some judgments about what they see.
It became very challenging, and the challenges were collecting evidence, being able to be non-judgmental when I was collecting the evidence. I think that was the most challenging part for me. I didn't think that that was going to be the challenge at all, but that's what it turned out to be. But I think that the focus in the practice with the team, we were always reminded to be non-judgmental, that we were collecting data, and how to collect that data fairly.
The discussion afterwards was very valuable to me. It helped open my eyes to let me learn as a teacher a little bit more about myself, and it allowed me the opportunity to look at other classrooms, to look at students other than my own, and to look at my own students with more of a non-judgmental eye, to be able to really observe what was going on and to be able to make educational change, because I was looking at what the students were doing rather than focusing on what the teachers were doing. It was a really eye-opening experience for me, and I wish that all teachers could have it.
According to the person who developed Instructional Rounds, one of the main intents of it is to increase your work as far as Bloom's taxonomy is concerned. So you're supposed to try to go deeper with things and make kids actually have to think. And one of the beliefs is that intelligence can increase. So oftentimes you hear teachers say things like, well, these kids can't do that, or this child is not going to be able to do that no matter what I do. And it seems to me that some of Instructional Rounds training dispels that myth, which I thought was really cool.
One of the most difficult parts for me as a teacher going into the rounds was to be able to focus on what the students are doing. I think as teachers, we automatically compare ourselves to other teachers, and so we're always looking for what the other teacher does better than we do, and sometimes we're looking at what we think we do better. That's not going to help us at all. We need to be looking at what the students are doing and how we plan our lessons and present them to the students and what the results are. What are the students actually doing? What can they produce after we've given them lessons, information, and we've modeled it? So that was very hard for me because I tended to want to say, well, if they did this or that, it would have been better, or this was good that the teacher did. And I had to get out of that mode, and a lot of us had trouble.
So we've been trying to focus on engagement in all of the lessons and talking about what, does a student look like, how should a student sit, and what does it look like to pay attention, and why is it important to be engaged? How is that going to help you in the long run, and how's that going to help you when you get a job, and how's that going to help you when you're in college, those kinds of things. And so the students really get an understanding of the importance of being still and paying attention and how that's going to help them in the long run.
One thing I took away from the instructional rounds is the issue of student engagement. I really want to and continue to work on student engagement in my classroom. I think that was the most dramatic change I could have made. And I'm looking forward to next year because here at David Reese, we're always trying to improve ourselves, and I appreciate that.
We found that we didn't often give the children enough practice time, enough time to do it, to actually master a task. That's going to be one of the things we'll focus on next year, eliminating some of the fluff so we can hone in on what we really need to teach these kids and giving them time and guidance to master these things.
I am looking forward of participating next year in the rounds because now I will have more information to take to my colleagues, my grade level. So I'm excited about talking about the different tasks that we ask of our students and to try to close up that variance that occurs in the classroom. That's one of the things that I've learned, that we talk as a grade level and it sounds as though we're doing exactly the same thing, and then we talk about the results we get and it looks different, it sounds different, and so I'm excited to work on that for next year.